Hey, what's up, good people? Glad to be back with you again for another episode. And today has kind of been an aha moment for me. And I wanted to present something to you that I experienced this last weekend. Um, and I'm going to call the title of this episode Class Dismissed because the student has become the teacher in this sense and what I'm about to talk to you about. So we got back from a pretty exhilarating weekend at my daughter's homeschool national volleyball tournament in Kansas City. And there was a lot leading up to this. So I want to set the stage for you. And then as I kind of build the framework for this conversation, I'm obviously going to give you a couple takeaways along the way where I learned from those 13, 14-year-old girl volleyball players by observing how they carried themselves. And so that's why I want to call it class dismissed. And the student has become the teacher. So I learned a lot from the kids when we're the parents that are teaching the kids most of the time. So to set the stage for this, last year we went, same place, different venue, but same environment, tons of teams, 14-year-old age group. And our homeschool girls here in Houston uh, are really talented and they are a cohesive unit and they work really well together and good coaching, really learned a lot and they've learned how to compete most importantly. So last year we get up there and we get through the tournament pretty easily. I mean, a little bit of challenge, but relatively smoothly. We get to the finals. And if you don't know how volleyball works, there's a gold ball for your bracket, and then there's an undisputed gold ball, which is basically what the real champion is anyway. I don't know why they give so many gold balls. That's a whole other topic. But that's the society we're in. But the undisputed gold ball says you're the best in the country. And so we won our bracket gold ball last year. We faced a team from Chicago. They had a superstar, future Division One volleyball player who could jump out of the gym, could just do a lot of things, very athletic. And we went toe to toe with this giant, and we ended up losing in the final set by like to the last point, down to the last point. Our girls battled. They were dying. They couldn't even hardly stand up. They were just exhausted emotionally, physically. But we chalked that up to being a good experience, good learning experience. They competed. It was good. It was a good experience. So we did well. Came back this year, started training, practicing, and this team had I noticed our team had progressed significantly year over year. And these girls, another year of playing together, can't hurt. And some grew, some got more skilled. They just clicked. And throughout the season, they had very little challenges. There was very little competition. And they breezed through pretty much the entire season and actually breezed through when we got to national tournament last week, breezed through their pool, uh, did really well through the bracket. Okay, they won the gold ball for their bracket. Guess what? We play the exact same team in the undisputed gold ball match, the finals, the holy grail of this whole tournament and why we're spending 4 days in Kansas City. And we're up against it's David against Goliath again. Like we are evenly matched in my opinion, but still they had the same girl, the same intimidation factor, the same crowd. I mean, they must have packed 100 people in their corner of the gym, making all the noise, and we're doing our best to keep up and keep the girls' spirits high and motivated. And I got to tell you, our girls didn't blink in the face of that adversity. If there was any intimidation whatsoever about last year, you couldn't see it on their faces. The coach made it clear to them to begin the season that the gold ball was what we were going for and it would be ours. And she would not accept anything less. And so consequently, the girls began to believe it in themselves that they would not accept anything less as well. And we absolutely took it to them. And the girls won in 2 straight sets. There was some opposition along the way, and that's what I want to give you today as a takeaway is what I learned by watching these kids, couple 12-year-olds, couple 13-year-olds, some 14-year-olds on our team. And what I watched them do together, I am going to take some things and try to implement into my everyday life, because if you're honest, like I'm trying to be honest, we get lost in the tunnel vision that we are as adults. We take ourselves super seriously. We're super focused, laser focused sometimes to our detriment, and we get locked in. And we refuse or we fail to see the world around us. We rarely stop and smell the roses. And I think we can learn something from this group of girls that absolutely brought their A game and absolutely took the fight to the beast. And so, as grown-ups, as adults, and I'll speak for myself, but I watched them do a couple things. So the first thing I noticed when we got there, they had a mission. You could see it in their eyes. And if you're an 80s kid like me, the eye of the tiger from Rocky 3, if you could take a snapshot of what that looks like, it was on the face of every one of our players. They had the eye of the tiger. They were not going to be denied. Okay? But at the same time, you could see the spirit of a child within them. You could see them having fun, enjoying life, fellowshipping with each other, having each other's back, encouraging each other, spending time together outside the gymnasium. And I the light went off in me that sometimes we all need that childlike, the Bible says childlike faith, but we all need that childlike perspective sometimes. When we start getting too serious and we start getting too negative and we start getting too sucked into the vacuum that is social media or our cultural uh I guess misfits that are out there, the cultural dysfunction that we all happen to consistently dwell upon. We magnify the things in our lives. Yes, we as adults have responsibilities to take control of situations and focus on the things that are responsibilities and steward over finances, jobs, family, home, marriage, relationships, different things. But at some point, I think we need to take a step back, a step outside ourselves, and become that 14-year-old volleyball player that is on a mission, but is also having fun and all about the team and all about serving the person to their right and to their left, having each other's back. So that's what I learned is watching these kids. And we got through the bracket or through the pool, which if any of you don't know, it's a couple of games you play in the first day um, to determine your status and your ranking for the next day's bracket play, which actually matters and actually allows you to move on to the next level and play for the gold ball. So the pool play is kind of a layup. It was, especially if you're our team, we were superior by far, light years better than these other teams. So of course we coasted through, which can have its downside as well because you're not necessarily tested for when the big game is on the line. But what I happened to notice through that is they could have easily been lulled to sleep by the ease that was our pool, that was the teams that were far beneath our skill level. But what I noticed is they kept their eye on the ball figuratively and literally, but they had a mission. And we as adults, when we have a mission, we get locked into it but can be easily distracted. What I watch these girls do is keep their head down and keep the main thing the main thing, and the task at hand was the task at hand and never wavered. That was admirable because I know many teams take other teams lightly and they lose sight, and then somebody sneaks up on somebody else. And then you've got this upset we see in March Madness for basketball. You see the 16 seed beat the one seed because the one seed's focused on two steps down the road when they need to be focused on that task at hand. But these girls stayed focused and started just picking off opponents one after the other. And at the same time, I keep going back to this. I watched them focus, but I also watched them be relaxed. And I have to think that that was based on their confidence level in each other. How many times in our day, in our week, in our lives are we so focused and so wound up, wrapped around the axle that we forget to rely on other people. We forget to have fun and enjoy the process, and we sometimes forget what we're fighting for. So that was a big thing that stood out to me. And sometimes you don't always in the moment get those lessons, but as I decompress on the plenty of hours drive home, playing it back in my head, playing that game film back in my head of how they carried themselves as a 14, 12, 13, 14-year-old girls volleyball team, and the lessons that can be taken from that experience. And I know some of you are out there going, really? Like, you're a 49-year-old grown man, husband, father of four, like you're taking lessons from teenage girls. And I have to say, yeah, I I had to be reminded, right? Maybe they didn't teach me something, but I had to be reminded of something that was important, which was the focus that you don't take your eye off the ball, right? But you also maintain a level of humility and confidence and just childlike enjoyment of the journey. And that's where I miss it. Many of you out there don't have a problem focusing on the prize and chasing it and maybe even walking over some folks to get there. Maybe some of you even do it the right way, and you lock arms and you've got each other's backs and you have a team and you're leading and you accomplish these goals. But those same people are the ones that look back on their lives and see all the dollar signs and all the accomplishments and accumulations of material possessions, but they wonder how they got where they are. How did I get here? I don't even remember the journey. I don't even remember that it was any fun. I don't even remember that I equipped and empowered and trained and coached people to be better than me. Did I do that? I don't know. The dollar signs in the bank account would say I did, but is that how we measure success? I think we miss it sometimes. So again, I'm taking a page out of the book of a 14U girls volleyball team. So we get through pool, we get to the bracket. Yeah, the competition's a little stiffer, but we win the gold ball, right? For the bracket, which means nothing other than to say we qualify to be a Final Four team for the undisputed ball, the undisputed trophy, the undisputed title of national champion. So as I'm watching this, right, the heat's getting turned up a little. The competition's rising. The stakes are higher. Fatigue's starting to set in. Maybe even a little pressure if we're being honest and we get each one of them in a room by themselves and say, "Hey, you feeling the pressure?" I bet some would say yes, right? It wasn't all rosy. It wasn't all perfect. In fact, they got into a situation where they fell behind by 6 points. It was like 12-6. And volleyball, if you do, goes to 25. So, you get in that 12 to 15 point range and you start thinking, okay, they're doubling our score. So we got to make a move, or it's too late. And I never saw anybody wince in the face of that. You're losing 12-6 against a good team. I never saw our coach, who maybe if you asked her would probably admit to being a little high strung, a little bit overly passionate sometimes when the chips are down or the stakes are higher, just like I am. But I never saw her get bent out of shape uh, when we were making mistakes or we weren't executing or we weren't living up to our potential. And it was peaceful to watch because you could tell they all had the same goal in mind. They were all going the same direction together at the same time in cadence and perfect rhythm together. So, yeah, shorten that story up. We ended up winning that game. We were losing 12-6 and ended up getting to the final match, of course, against, like I said, the Goliath that was last year to us. Not so much now because our girls know they can beat them. And so the takeaway here would be when you've got seemingly insurmountable adversaries or odds or circumstances, and there's a mountain in front of you that doesn't look climbable, there is a way up, over, around, through this mountain, but it takes people, good people around you. And you've heard the expression, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So these girls went together. And that wasn't so much a lesson to me. It was just kind of remarkable to see the maturity level of such young people in a highly competitive environment um, with so much on the line. But it didn't ever look like they were shaken. What do we look like sometimes? We're the leader. We're the dad. We're the mom. We're the adult, the leader of a situation, a home, a business, a team. What are we showing to the world when that mountain is a little taller than it used to be, or that storm's a little stiffer than it ever has been before? What do we show? What do we do? Are we shaken? Are we movable? And I would say, as a Christian, it'd be easy to say, I'm never shaken. I'm never movable. I'm never anxious. I'm never fearful. That's not true. But at the end of the day, what are we standing on, firmly planted with both feet in our faith, right? Promises of God. God doesn't change through the circumstance, through the storm. He's still good. He's still God. He still has promises for us that are real and personal. That's what we need to hold on to. That's what we need to stay firmly planted in. Just like these girls were firmly planted in their coach saying, here's my vision. We're winning this. Even when it looks like we're not. That needs to be our mantra, is I'm moving forward anyway because God tells me that I win. God is good. He does care. He has equipped me to walk through. What's he say? There's a scripture that says, you will have tribulation in this world, but take heart. I have overcome the world. So he's encountered way worse than we ever will, and he overcame it. So he says, you will have peace through the tribulation. Take heart means be at peace and be convinced that I overcame the world. And so I'm going to pull you through whatever this thing is you're dealing with. That's what I got from watching this team, my daughter's team of young girls in a Christian homeschool academy sports program. And they all came with the same mission and the same reliance on each other and the same leadership and encouragement of, it's not an option that we are defeated, even when it looks like we will be. So that was another main point that I got from it. Just they were just good reminders. And I don't know if anyone out there that's listening to this Maybe, maybe my mom's the only person that ever listens to this podcast. I don't know. But if anyone's listening to this, you can probably relate to what I'm saying to you when I say it's nice to see reminders. I think God shows us reminders through other people and through other events, moments we're a part of that we maybe don't really acknowledge the importance or significance of those because we're just so wound up that I have to be at this game and I'm missing the football game on TV that I really wanted to see, but I'm sitting here, I'm supporting my child, whatever, I'm here at this thing. Do I really want to be here? But if you're present and you're engaged and you're in the moment, like I think God will reveal things to you there, like he did me. Maybe I was at a point in my life, maybe I am at a point in my life where I needed that wake up call. The focus on the mission, the immovable nature that God is and put in me, unshakable through a storm or a circumstance or a mountain that looks immovable, right? And then just enjoy the journey, have that childlike enjoyment of the relationships you build, of the character you build through this situation, of the skills you acquire or sharpen through the process. The people you get to meet, the connections you make, the difference you make, the people you bless, who you serve, those things through that journey are what matter. That is going to be when you're at the end of your road and you're not caring about the dollar signs or the bank account or the 4 cars in the driveway, right? You're concerned about, did I make an impact? Did I have influence in a positive way? Did I serve? Did I bless? And if we enjoy the journey along the way, like I think that we're going to have that kind of impact. So that's what I watched those girls do in that final match against the same team that beat them last year. They weren't going to be denied. They had relatively the same roster. In fact, I think they had one other that was even better than a girl that was there last year. So essentially, they were all the stars lined up for them to repeat as national champion. But our girls stood at that net welcoming the battle. Yeah, we fell behind in one of the sets and it wasn't looking good. And we had a perfect opportunity to go, oh, here, this again. This team has the momentum. They're the loudest in the gym. Their fans are obnoxious. And here we go again. That could have been easily what our team said. Here we go again. But I could just tell, like, watching the, you know, figuratively them gritting their teeth together and saying, not on our watch. We came too far to cower to this. And they didn't. Ultimately they won the national championship, undisputed gold ball, and everything that they'd worked for and all that they had believed in and all that they entrusted in each other came to fruition and actually was accomplished. And I don't know that any of them were surprised. Along the way, parents watching, I don't think we were either, as we started to see this team gain momentum and just build upon win after win and get stronger together. I don't know that we were surprised either. But it was refreshing to watch the next generation in a world where we're, all the old people in the world, the get off my lawn type adults have such negative things to say about the next generation and the kids nowadays and social media and we're in trouble and this and that. I'm here to tell you what I witnessed was encouraging about the next generation. And I see it throughout little pockets of our sphere of influence and the kids we hang out with and the families we know. I mean, I see a glimpse of hope. And this team, I say, represents what good teams should look like. It represents a good next generation because they were resilient, they were confident, they were together, but they were humble and they were fearless. So I hope somebody out there got what I got from it. And I hope I was able to articulate and paint a picture to some degree as to what I gained from watching them. And I hope you gained something from this, because there is a journey to enjoy. There is a mission to accomplish. There is focus to have, but understanding that you've got to have good people with you. You've got to keep your eye on the ball, and you got to have that childlike enjoyment that the mission's bigger than you, and the downstream blessing for other people is based on what you contribute to that mission. So with that, be blessed.